Just making sure the sound's working, that's all right. Don't be talking to you, you can't hear me. So yeah, we've set up on a tight little section actually. They come down the hillside here, and it opens out. There's a long tightening left-hander, which then 50 yards after that you've then got a very tight hairpin left. Quite steep downhill for around about 50 metres into a tight square right, tight hairpin right, and that drops away. Then the guys this morning will have found that the road, certainly the early cruise through, will have found that this road was almost like a grass field when they drove it. It's cut up a little bit. In fact, it's probably cleaned up a little bit, to be fair. The surface looks quite good now. Very steep, so you have to have your wits about you. And on obviously very fast, it's still very dusty, but the dust is clearing, which is a good sign. And it's quite a nice long shot here, so you should be able to see the cars for a while. It's a little bit different to what we normally do. We're normally stage side and feel all the emotions as the cars fly past you close up, but we're a little bit further away here. We're stood in the shade, which is nice. That's a bonus. But you should see a longer shot, and it means that we can stream live here to you, because the satellite can only point one way, and we're struggling with dust this weekend. Never happy, are we? Never happy. But it must be a good shot. Must be a good spot. We've got Mr. Gareth Edwards stood next to us watching. Brought the family down. They're all stood watching with us. I won't mither him. I'll let him watch his rallying. But yeah, so it must be a decent spot. A local boy, knows these forests well, and is just happy to be back in the forests again, right close to his house. So I can see the flash of orange on the hillside over there. That's Mr. Henry Green. There we go. Working hard. He's probably listening to me, actually. He's on his phone, isn't he? Who's that bloke over there talking about me? But great to see, these drivers and competitors putting a little bit back into the sport as well. It's important that we look after our beloved rallying. So, like I say, we're just waiting on our first competitor. They won't be too far away now. Zero car has cleared the stage, so we will keep an eye out. Running order for the two-wheel drives as it was this morning. We're going from reverse seated order, so we're expecting to see our first competitor car 206, which is Richard Stewson and Stu Jones in the Peugeot 106. It's been a bit of a rally of attrition so far. We've lost quite a few competitors. As we get through the field, I'll try and remember who's here and who isn't. The obvious sign of who isn't here is you won't see them thinking about it. But we'll tell you a few of the retirements as we get through the field. One notable retirement that we know from the top of the order was Robert Goff. Paul Morris stopped in stage one this morning early on, right just after the start, in fact, of stage one. So massive shame for them boys. Looking to go well this weekend. We know in the four-wheel drives, Matt Hurst has had engine issues yesterday, so pulled the entry, and no sign of Hugh Hunter this morning as well, which is a real shame. Looking forward to seeing Hugh back in the car, but didn't start the event this morning, so hope everything's well with Hugh. Did a sterling job last weekend on the microphone down in Rally Ceredigion. It was a great event down in Aberystwyth, real buzz about the town, and lots of exciting plans. Fingers crossed that they managed to get things sorted with European Championship status, and there's plenty of people over from the European Championships last weekend having a look around, and it would be great to see an event like that on the European stage. So fingers crossed the organisers did a cracking job last weekend. Hopefully that was noted, and things are progressing in the right direction for them. So I can hear first car now. They'll be coming past the back of us on the top of the hillside, and hopefully not down it, because we're just underneath him. Look forward to seeing how these crews tackle this very tricky, tight couple of hairpins and steep downhill. I can say it's a left-hander that just tightens. The car comes into view now. It is car 206. Richard Stewardson, Stu Jones. There's be a certain pull on the handbrake, just about. And he's being caught. There's a car behind him. He's got problems finding the gear. That's a seriously tight left and right hairpin there. So he's been caught by the Mini Cooper, car 205. You'll see in a second Andrew Watson and Emma Cooper. Parts hanging off the Mini. The back bumper's got some war wounds. Quite a drop off on the inside of that hairpin as well. Probably thankful that the dust isn't quite as bad down this end of the stage. These cars will have really struggled on the middle part of this stage where we were earlier. It was really rutted. As we see Darryl Denning and Julia Perry in the Volvo 244 throwing the beast through the hairpins. Great to see a Volvo out. We'll be having fun in that car. Mentioned this crew this morning, still going strong. The car did this event back in 1997. Been fully rebuilt and purchased by Darryl. And Julia's stepped into the car. She's been sponsored by Genuine Cars and Classics. I've known Julia for a while now. She's done a lot of scenic tours, and she always managed to beat us on the Tour of Cheshire as well, which is always frustrating. But, I won't hold it against her. I'll just mention it every time I go live. But great to see the Volvo out. Next up, we can hear a car coming down the hillside behind us. It's the Escort, the Fortis Island Limited sponsored car of Alan Young and Ashley Young, and they're certainly being caught. Dust will become a factor now. Daniel Shalev, Shannon Turnbull in the Fiesta. Thankfully this little section of stage will allow a bit more clearer visibility. Not quite as bad for the dust, and it looks on the camera, but you can see that Daniel's got quite good vision, really, considering he's only sort of 100 yards behind that car. Now he struggles as the car heads back into the forest in the distance. He'll be desperate to get past. Terry Cree should be up next in the Mini Cooper. Like I say, rally of attrition really this weekend. It's been really rough in the centre section of this stage. We drove through it in our road car earlier, and we really had to sort of crawl through in places. There is Terry Cree in that little Mini Cooper. Great to see the little Minis out. They'll have had a real bumpy ride through that centre section of the stage. 3 separate forests being used here at Kerry this weekend, all linked together with 2 ribbons of see how the stream's going, see if it's working and people can hear me and watch. Mark Brown is watching from the beach. Brian Kemp is watching from Burwash in East Sussex. Antonio Diaz, greetings from the Canary Isles. Welcome along, Tony. At least the Volvo's having a good go. Certainly is. Alwyn Pritchard, good luck everyone from the Dad's Army marshalling team. Not out this weekend, but we'll be back out on the Cambrian. Thanks for tuning in, Alwyn. We were with you guys last week on Rally Ceredigion. I don't know if it was yourself, but the Dad's Army team were out on Junction 6 in Cumbernauld with us. Little pause in proceedings. I just had to make sure that the stream was working. Then it's all right. The stream and everything, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fine. Doing the watcher. I mean, working. There's a few people stopping at the top end.
That's the finish line.
That'll be why.
Yeah, cameraman Jamie just commenting that the cars are stopping at the top end of the forest. Must be having an issue. That's the stop line where they have to stop. You'll have more of an issue if you didn't stop. You'd have thought he was new to this, wouldn't you? He's not. He's been doing it a while. We'll educate him, don't worry. That thing you're using is a camera, Jay. He's getting all embarrassed now. Sounds good. Car 191, 57 tiles, 57 tyres, and Wales Motorsport sponsored Lynn Davies and Alan Richards. Nice and precise. Nicely done. Throw in the Escort into the hairpin. We noticed when we arrived here earlier, actually, there was quite a few cars that had overshot this junction at the top, so keep an eye out for that as the cars and crews get quicker and quicker. 189, Charles Hopkinson and Alan Jones in their RS 1800. A little battle there between the two H34 class cars. And Davies and Charles are having a battle. Next we should see Jeremy Wells in the first of the Mark 1s. Big hello to a few more people then. Stu McNeish, Dave Stirrup, Matt Robinson. We welcomed Matt along earlier on as well. We need him back out again. And back out in this Escort. Luke Leonard is watching. And Fergal Kelly also watching as well. Thank you very much for joining us all, everybody. Please, if you want to keep up to speed with what's going on here at Special Stage, you've got the notifications button that you can click on. It's like a little bell in the corner of your screen. You can click on that and that will notify you every time we go live. Therefore you won't miss any live action. We're live almost every weekend. Next weekend we are down on 3 Shires stages. You'll be able to watch all the action here on special stage. MGZR, car 180, Luke Watts, Matt Rogers. First of our 1400C competitors. Going well. When the next car goes past, I'm going to see if Jamie can just pan out for us as the car goes away. Excuse me. You get to see this amazing view we have down the valley. So as the car's a little challenge for you there, Jay. As the car disappears out of view, you can pan back and show us all the hills in the distance. Let people know where we are. One of the beauties of coming out into the forest like this, we get to see amazing parts of the world that you wouldn't normally go to. Spoilt for choice with views around here. Next up, 193. It's the Ridges. Trevor Ridge, Chris Ridge in the Fiesta. Local boys will be pleased to be back in this forest again. There you go, look at that for a view. A stunning view down the forest and past the Kerry ski slope into the valley in the distance. This is Jeremy Wells, who I mentioned earlier. Car 188. Wells Masonry Solutions sponsored car. Oh, just a stall on the hairpin, Jeremy. Fire it up. There we go. Finding the gear. There's so much loose gravel and dust on the outside of them bends as well. If you get your wheels into there, you'll be spinning them up for days. It's better. Keep that beautiful Mark 1 Escort looking pristine. Get it back to the finish. 2 more stages to go after this one. We'll travel on the road section up to Hopton, where they have a shortish blast around Hopton, and then finishing off at Hay Park. Familiar territory for most people who do the Woodpecker stages, just outside Ludlow, and then back to the racecourse for the finish. I've been noticing while we've been stood here waiting for the cars to come through that the clouds are gathering above, starting to form large fluffy clouds. Claps of thunder won't be too far away, but for now we're still in the sunshine. Well, we're not, we're in the shade, but the sunshine is still around us. You can certainly see that on the camera. One car I am looking forward to seeing again is the 206 of Damien Thomas and Fraser Moss. That awesome sounding car. Can't be too far off. In fact, it should be next actually. Let's keep our fingers crossed he's still running, because that car sounded and looked fantastic. So we shall see. I can hear something coming in the distance, singing through the forest. Navigating the stage just behind us. It's not the Peugeot, it's the Nissan Micra. Being driven just as hard Calvin Evans, Thomas Wynne Shakespeare. Shouts outs on the live stream earlier for these guys. Nicely done, boys. A little micro singing. Going well. So plenty more joining us on the live stream. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Well, this afternoon now. Feels like this morning. Feels like we've been going for hours, doesn't it? It's the sun. It's getting to us all. Everybody else that's joined us today: Adrian Bach, Sean Hughes, Russell Thompson rallying, Gareth Edwards. Hello from 10 feet away. Some people, unbelievable. I'm surprised Jamie Ganley hasn't commented. Stood in front of you filming. Thanks, guys. Thank you for joining us. It all adds up to viewing figures. We'll take it. How is George Lepley doing, please? Let me have a little look. I'll give you some information regarding the results. He was lying second. I sort of rounded up to 4 stages. So the first half of the event has been completed. He was lying second in the Phil Price Memorial Woodpecker National Rally. Obviously, these guys are all in sort of 2-wheel drive historic cars. George is in the newer Mitsubishi Galant VR4. So I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure how the timings and all that works with that particular car. I think it's just a category in this section of rally. So I think he's lying second overall, just 9 seconds off the pace, with Joe Price leading the way. I can only take the results as what they tell me. So from what I can tell, he gained 2 spots on the leaderboard going into the last stage, so finishing the first half of the day in second place. So thank you for asking, Brian. I hope that's answered your question. Paul Woodford is watching. Tom Hutchins is watching. It's ironic that them pair have tuned in at the same time. Paul and Tom, best friends from back over in Yorkshire. Paul is obviously doing the live stream over in stage 5 currently. Down on the hairpin towards the end of the stage, and then the cars are heading from Paul over to us here. Another spinner, almost half spin on the hairpin for the restruct Escort, car 177. That was Ron Morgan. Sean Hughes just slightly overcooking the hairpin. It's such a long, fast left-hander that just tightens and tightens and tightens, and then just after you have the sort of tightest point of the corner, it opens out into a 50-metre straight, and then it's an almost impossible hairpin. Really tight. You have to pull the handbrake. You can't really drive that corner. Peter Hinton and Lewis Sim in a D2 category Ford Escort. Going well. So Paul has just commented to say that there's a stoppage in the previous stage. They're recovering some cars in there, so Liam Clark has had an accident in there, and the crew need recovering. All good to go again though very soon. Great job by the recovery team. So Another aspect of the sport that doesn't get the praise it needs. The rescue and the recovery crews spend a lot of time sat stage side hoping they're not used. But when the inevitable does happen, they have to spring into gear and always ready to answer the call. And they fix any issues they have stage side, and it means that we can get the rally back underway again. Warren Martin's watching from Dexter, Michigan. He tunes in quite a lot, does Warren, so thank you very much for joining us again. I enjoy watching these broadcasts for the variety of cars. Over here, a rally looks much like a Subaru car meeting. Yeah, we've watched some of the American stuff though. It's different over there, I know. I wouldn't mind coming over and doing something in America. I've travelled to the States a lot of times, and I quite like the idea of going to a US event. Tom Hutchins, good job, Phil. Thank you very much, Tom. Nice to hear from you. Thank you for joining us. 175, Steve Chaplin, Richard Souter. Glorious sounding Mark II. Having a little flick down the entry list. So, Liam Clark, Tony Edwards, Ford Fiesta car 135. So, as we break into our top 30 in the two-wheel drives, we can expect a short delay. They may have closed that back up a little bit again now with a regroup, but we'll expect a short delay there. We'll keep an eye on things as we get closer to that. Adrian Bach, thanks for the shout out. How do you find out about the stages? I would love to come and watch and not just see it on Facebook. Great question. Thank you for asking. Rallies run every weekend, really, in the UK. Not far off every weekend. It feels like that sometimes, anyway. The easiest way of doing it is getting a rally calendar. Finding where all these events are is probably the hardest bit about it. So once you've found out where the events are, head to their Facebook pages or a website. If you go to Google and type in British Rally Calendar, there'll be a calendar on there that you'll be able to use to find where the events are and when they're running and where they are in the country. Head to their Facebook pages or websites, and you'll be able to find all the information on there about spectating. You've got the Three Shires next weekend, which runs around Leinster, and around the Malvern area. If you happen to be that way, got yourself down there. Cracking closed road rally, that well worth a visit. Weekend after is Track Rod Rally Yorkshire weekend, so anybody up north, get yourself up to Yorkshire. Fantastic gravel stages, real fast flowing stages around the Forest of Dalby, Cropton, Staindale, Gale Rig. Really is well worth a visit up there, so if you happen to be in that vicinity, go and check that out. You've got Galloway Hills also for the Scottish viewers. I think that's next weekend, if I remember rightly. Lots going on, always events going on. So make sure you check out where these events are. Going on to a calendar of events and finding exactly where they are. Rallies Info is a good one to go to. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Thanks, Paul Street. How times have changed. Top hairpin left. It was the first time I saw Roger Clark in the new Mark II Escort. Thought it was such a disappointment after the success of the Mark Is. It was a rubbish car, wasn't it, that Mark II Escort? Let's be honest. It never really took off. Thank you, John. That's a great comment. Yeah, it's how times have changed. We still see a lot of Escorts around, a lot of Mark II Escorts. What a fantastic rally car. Going from the Mark I to the Mark II. Two totally different looking cars, but equally just as glorious in whether you've got rounded arches or more square-shaped ones. They're both fantastic cars in their own right. I don't see too many Mark Is out anymore. It's always nice to see a Mark I. Jeremy brought his out here, hasn't he? And there's a few other people as well. Next up, car 168. This is the Britpart sponsored crew, and one of our Pirelli Welsh Championship contenders, Tim Phelps, Elwyn Manuel, in the unmissable lime green Mark II Escort, running in the B12 class this weekend. That was the Greenhalls. Chris and James in the Vauxhall Nova. Just a slight overshoot on the top hairpin. But, no real time loss there. Managed to keep it going. Tidied it up for the second one. One of the crews that had a moment with us this morning on Junction 5. This is the Honda Civic. Let's confirm the number before I tell you anything else. 166, the Digger Parts Direct. Martin Walters and Marie Fletcher. Overcooked it into the left-hander, came into view sideways, almost backwards actually, this morning on Junction 5, up at the spectator point. Managed to gather it back round again nicely and did a good job of sorting itself out. So, I feel it's important. I just want to mention something here on the live stream. We just need to a quick mention, really, for Roger Allen, who unfortunately passed away recently due to a short illness. Roger was a real sort of campaigner for this event and really put a lot of time and effort into ensuring this event ran. He competed on the event a lot of times as well, starting out in the 80s with Nigel Wakefield and latterly alongside Paul Davey in the Subaru Impreza. So just want to extend our condolences to the family, and we know that a lot of people are thinking of Roger this weekend. He'll be sorely missed, so just take a moment to reflect on Roger and anybody else who hasn't managed to be out in the stages this weekend. Stunning sight of the Rally Extreme Mark II Escort dancing its way through the stage. That's John Brazier and Damien Bird. That car looks fantastic, doesn't it? Lovely looking colour scheme on that H2 class Ford Escort RS. So it's a glorious sight. Just running slightly wide, keeping the power on. Managing not to stall the engine. Dancing the big heavy Porsche 911 through the stages. Richard, Axel, Alan Harriman. Always great to see a Porsche, isn't it? Especially on gravel like that. It looks like it should be here. It's really a nice car to see that. So one other mention today. I hope everybody up at The Motorist in Leeds has had a cracking day. Rally-inspired car meet up there today on New Lenton Street, Sherborne in Elmet. If you've been up there today, you will have seen the live streams on the big screen at The Motorist. So a big shout out to those guys and thank you for sharing our live feed at your rally-inspired open day. Hope you've had a great day up there. Lots of amazing machinery to see up there as well. So if you happen to be in the area, make sure you call in. Great little cafe up there. Go and get yourself a brew and a look around some fantastic cars. So I hope it's been a good day. Look forward to seeing some of the photos from up there, and I hope we've made your lives a little bit easier in the on the ear as well. You've had a good day. Some acoustic wallpaper for you. Stole that off Paul Woodford. Don't tell him. Some acoustic wallpaper. I don't know what that means. He says it all the time. It sounds good when he says it. Yeah.
That's loud.
See, I do listen, Paul. You're the master, I'm the apprentice, remember? I've got to learn from you. Wax on, wax off. Next up, Adrian Walk in the Ford KA. Matt Walk alongside. Another of the Pirelli Welsh crews. When they're on it, these boys. Pedal that little KA really well. It's not your typical rally car, is it, when you think of rally cars around the world, but it seems to work well for them. I remember Matt. What was Matt who drove the KA from Yorkshire? And his surname slipped my mind now. Drove a KA for years in the 1400s. No. Matt Jackson was in the delegate car, yeah. It'll come to me in a minute. You lot will all tell me anyway in a second when I can't remember. But 1400 champion from a few years back. It'll come to me in a second. It's on the tip of my tongue. You could seriously pedal a KA, that's for sure. Oh, Gareth Edwards is trying to work out that as well now. It's frying his brain. So that was Philip Harris and Derek Davies in their Mark 1 Ford Escort Harrison Co sponsorship, and they've been hunted down as they were this morning by the screaming Vauxhall Corsa. Car 160, Chris Bush, Rob Bryn, Chicken Jones. He was one of our visitors to the ditch this morning, wasn't he? It's good to see he hasn't learnt his lesson. He's still pushing just as hard. He was really on it this morning, and again, just now coming through. Great to see. The boys are going well. Told you everyone would tell me before anybody else. Matt Smith, of course it was. Of course it was, Matt Smith. I knew it was there, I just couldn't think of the name. Thank you very much, guys. Paul Street especially, thank you for correcting me and telling me my job. I just couldn't think of the name then. Sorry, Matt. Matt joins us as well a lot of the time. He watches the streams quite a bit, so apologies, Matt. Dylan Fowler Bishop and Dan Evans in that little Micra, still pedaling that little car just as hard as they were this morning as well. It's been an impressive outing for those boys. Just shows you don't need all the best equipment in the world to get you around these stages fast and enjoy yourselves. Next up, very noisy sounding Peugeot 205. We just about getting round. Micro breathing down the neck. Car 203, Giles Armitage, Josh Rhodes. Car sounding a little second hand. The car that sounds on song though, car 156. It's Ashley Francis Adams and Tudor Jenkins in their little Micra as well. It'll be an interesting battle between the two Micras there. Dylan Fowler Bishop, Ashley Francis Adams. It'll be interesting to see the results there. While we're talking about results, if you want to know any of the results and categories, anything that's going on basically today, I'll post you a little link here. What I will do is I will copy and paste the link into the live stream. There we go. That's the link that will take you straight through to the results after stage 4. So that's halfway through the event. Obviously, there's lots of little navigational points. Then you can go in and out and have a look at classes and individual cars and whatever you fancy. But it's all there. There's a link for you there. So click on that link and you'll be taken to the results pages where you can catch up with all your friends and family who are competing today. .155 then. That's Steve Corky Ward. Still being expertly guided around by Mr. Philip Sandham. Loves his rallying, does Phil. Made us laugh up in Argyle. Turned up to the Argyle stages to help us out on the microphone, but brought a white pair of trainers with him. It didn't take long for the rain to get hold of those, and he needed a second pair of shoes within about 2 hours. To purchase some more in Dunoon. But it was an absolute fantastic addition to the special stage team that weekend. Tony and Matthew Thompson in the Cobots Online sponsored Ford Escort Mark II, running in D5 class this weekend. Yeah, everyone knew that, didn't they? That was a rubbish quiz. Everyone knew Matt Smith. Just me that didn't. Paul Street, when I did my first track rod, my co-driver said I was the main aim. My main aim was I had to beat him. Oh well, if you'd have beaten Matt in Yorkshire, you were going well. I'll tell you that now. He could pedal a KA anywhere, but Yorkshire was his turf. Tommy Meadows is watching. Welcome along, Tommy. You can join us with Mike Reed and John Millington in the RS2000 Escort, passing us by here. Reed Group and Spectrum sponsored car. And much love for that crew on the previous live stream. Great to see they're still going well. Next up, we turn our attentions back to front-wheel drive, and this is Alex Cannon and Alan Carfrey in the Ford Fiesta R2. See how they handle the hairpin. Just a little flick of the handbrake, drag the back end round. Powering the way down the hill. I can't emphasise enough how steep that hill is. There's a caution board at the top of the hill just as you take the hairpin, just explaining that this is very, very steep here. Watch yourselves, guys. And yeah, it seems to be seems to have got a bit more grippier than this morning, I imagine, with the grass disappearing. So plenty of commitment from these boys. Pleased to know my cough's getting slightly better. Running out of juice as well. One thing we never banked on really this morning was how much water we'd need today. Lewis Hooper. A nod to the RED colour scheme down the side of the Nissan Micra. Another one of the Micra hard chargers. We'll start keeping an eye on the gaps between the cars now. We will be working our way towards the previously mentioned stoppage in the earlier stage, so it might be that we have slightly bigger gaps between the cars. Might be a little pause. We'll see how things go. The Mark II Escort, David Dobson, Brian Hodgson, Vincent Dobson Builders Limited is the sponsors. The clouds are still sort of building around us. Nothing too serious at the minute, I'm pleased to say. I think we'll get away with this in the dry. Not so sure about the drive home. Next up for us is another of the Mark IIs. This is Howell Davies, Ian Jones. Going well in the unarched H1 class car. Dust is just hanging now as the cars head back into the trees, just not quite clearing as much as it was earlier. Might be an issue for the crews running further down the entry. Jason Gardner, Kevin Lane, RS 1800, Escort Mark II. Sounding on song. Going well. Squeak on the brakes. So a couple of other crews to mention to you that are missing from our leaderboard this afternoon. Unfortunately, we have lost both of the Griffiths Fiestas, Liam and Callum, both suffering from similar issues. I think it was drive shaft that's given up on those cars, which is a massive shame. So just hearing news of another issue in the previous stage. We'll keep you posted on stoppages and things that are going on, and we'll let you know what the score is, obviously, as soon as we hear anything. But for now, we've still got cars coming thick and fast. Terry Cree, Motorsport sponsored car. Ben Cree and Robert Wiggins in this Opel Corsa. Going well this morning. Familiar looking Opel colour scheme to that car as well. Looks nice with the yellow and grey on it, actually. So next up we're expecting Dan Chester and Paul Barbet in the BMW E30. Stunning looking car, always well prepared this. Sounds very BMW-like as it passes behind us on the hillside. It certainly is. Car 144. Such a smooth engine though, hasn't it? Let's watch it power its way down the hill here. Picking up pace. To the bottom of the hill and floor it. Well done, Dan. Another mile or so of stage before they get to the end of this one. And then they have just Hopton and Hay Park to go before heading back to Ludlow Racecourse for the finish. The Squires boys. And, instantly recognisable rally competition and equipment. Escort Mark II. Phil and Mick, the twins from Staffordshire. They run the rallying competition equipment garage shows. I think they're probably going to be out tonight as well. I kept saying it was next week, but it's actually tonight. The Oak Trophy Stages, which starts in Rushton Spencer this evening, and then heads out into the lanes around Derbyshire and Staffordshire Moorlands, and possibly just flirting with a little bit of Cheshire as well. To Ed Wayne and Will Banks, to name a couple of people, and I'll tell you who else. Mr. It'll come to me in a second. I do that so often. I'm just about to say something, it just flies out of my head. 1 second, hold that thought, it'll come back to me. Let's just have a little glimpse of this fantastic monster of a Mercedes. Steve Maxson. Sounds stunning, doesn't it? A great sign that is. what's going on. Bear with me 1 second. I just want to make sure things are going to plan. Potentially some issues coming up with stoppages on stages, so I'm trying to coordinate what's going on there. Okay. So what were we talking about? Sorry, I was mentioning the Oaks Trophy stages one time before. So yeah, going back to then. So Ed Wayne, Will Banks, Martin Beach is who I was thinking of, and Jessica Beach, and then the Squires guys, and whoever else is involved in organising the Oaks Trophy stages and the return of that event tonight, up around the Staffordshire Moorlands and the lanes around Staffordshire and Derbyshire. Big congratulations, a big shout out to those guys and girls. A lot of effort have gone in, and I hope it all goes well tonight for you. I'm sorry I can't be there. I'd love to have been there tonight to help out or participate in some way. But yeah, unfortunately I've got a big day tomorrow, so I'm not going to be able to make it. But fingers crossed everything goes well for you guys tonight up there, and you have a cracking event, and I'll speak to you soon about all that. So we're expecting some gaps. Just bear with us with it. It may be that the organisers, rather than hold all the cars and have one big gap, they may just concertina the cars, open them up a little bit, the gaps, so rather than run at 1 minute gaps, they may run at 2 minute gaps, just so that we don't have to run interim safety cars and things like that. It's something that the organising teams have started doing recently, and it works quite well. Although we do have a little bit of an extra pause between cars, it's not a problem. We can flick back to the results and have a little look. I won't mention it. I won't mention it. I'm not going to say a thing. But if you do happen to know a Gareth Edwards from the local area who is eating my biscuits, you're welcome to eat the biscuits. It's not a problem. It's a pound of biscuit. So just having a little look to see where things are. I know we have had issues in previous stages, so just bear with us. Let's have a little look at the stream then. So I probably had 120 more brake horsepower, but I think he still beat me. Thank you. No, I'm all right at the minute. Thank you very much. It's Paul Street. Yeah, thought it was my second event in 20. Although it was my second event in 26 years. Well, I think that's a good excuse, to be fair, Paul. You know, second event in 26 years, you can't be expected to be on that sort of pace from there, can you? Really? Surely. So that was the Hartbury Farms sponsored Jeff Phelps and Colin Jenkins in their Mark II Escort running the B11 class this weekend. So next up should have been Liam Clark, but we know Liam's had an indiscretion into the scenery. The guys are okay, so there was a pause in proceedings. Let's see how this unfolds. We'll give it a couple of minutes. What I don't want to do is hold you guys on a live stream for nothing. So while we wait to see if anything else comes over the hill, we will quickly flick to the results. So I'm just hearing information from the previous stage. Actually, the stage, it's looking like it's unconfirmed at the moment, but it looks like the previous stage is now cancelled. They're turning the cars round and diverting them from that stage to this one. So fingers crossed, everything is okay there, and they get everyone back to this stage so that we can continue running this stage on a reasonable time scale. Let's say there's obviously got to be some changes, and things will run slightly behind, but. It's not the end of the world. We can deal with that as long as everyone's okay and everyone's safe. So this is the fabulous Stokes rally team. Mark I Escort of Andrew Stokes, Johnny Stan Evans. Lots of great memories of this car being driven by the late great David Stokes. Fantastic experience, something I'll never ever forget. Andrew driving it just as well. Sounds stunning. Big shout out to the team back in Ludlow. Sue always looked after us, always there for us when we were heading into service with a cup of tea, or I think a stew at some point when we were up in the Scottish Highlands. We've had all sorts. She's always looked after us. Fantastic bit of hospitality from the Stokes team. So much love to those guys. Thank you very much for everything you've done for us over the years. It was always nice to get back on the RAC at God knows what time in the morning, and Sue would be there with the kettle on waiting for us. So we're looking towards Chris Davies and Remy Thomason next in the Braces Bread and Developments Plus Limited Escort. We will see how they get on. Like I mentioned before, we know we've already lost car 128 and 124. Both the Griffiths boys are out. Unfortunately. So a little. Yeah, drive shatter, both of them. Such a massive shame. Both Liam and Callum. They're so good to watch in that ST 150 Fiesta. Really pedal those cars so well. It's fantastic to see them. But unfortunately, both having similar issues there. As you'll see later, Perry Gardner bent track control arm. Track control arm after the finish of SS3, and they are out as well. So the local crew in the Fiesta has had to retire. Somewhere in that cloud of dust there is a Mark I Escort. Restarting, but get the car fired up, back to speed quickly. So just a shout out to everybody who's joining us now. I know things haven't quite gone to plan in the previous stage, so all eyes this weekend now are on the Pirelli Welsh Championship live stream. BTRDA one, unfortunately, they're done for the day with the cars being rerouted. So come join us here. We'll bring you as many of the cars as possible. Ricky Crone, Van der Vine, another crew to have had a moment this morning with us on Junction 5, kicking up the plumes of dust that hang on these hairpins. Nicely done. Balancing the car on the throttle, flicking the back end round. Keep it on the road, boys. Buzzing along. Fantastic to see. So Phil Griffiths has just commented about a massive gap. Phil's mentioned that they were here this morning. Okay, we'll see how things go. Trying to juggle everything around all at once. That's probably why the reason for the long pauses. Sorry, Adrian. I'll try not to have too many pauses in the live stream, and my voice stopping and starting left, right, and centre. But yeah, trying to juggle the phone with the results and everything. It's not quite as easy as it looks. Roger Haycock's getting in touch. I remember standing there as a 13-year-old watching Voldegaard win the 1977 RAC. Well, you've left your rubbish here. I've just found some of it, I think. Is this yours? Is your crisp packet down here, Roger? Thank you for that, Roger. I'm only joking, obviously. Roger now campaigns mine and my dad's old Mark II Escort when it was out on a rally last year. I don't think it... Has it been out again, Roger? I haven't seen it for a while. You still got it? Is it still in the garage? Yeah, Cossack coloured Escort Mark II that we sold to Roger a couple of years back now, maybe more than that, actually, think about it. Yeah, it must be more than that, of course it is. Moved on to the world of Saabs instead, a little bit more sedate. Rob Dennis, Andy Boswell in the Mark II Escort H34 class car. Let's see what we've got in terms of results now. So let's see, results up to... Let's go. Okay. So, stage results for the previous stage. So, we know there's been a stoppage. The quickest car through before the stoppage was Tom Walster. Ewan Roberts Jr. In that fantastic G3. Robert Proudlock. Gareth James, 4th quickest. Mike Brown Jr., 5th quickest. Andy Davison, 6th. Will Onion, 7th. Joint 7th, in fact, with Ernie Graham. And then 3 cars holding the same time for an equal 9th spot. James Lepley, Max Utting and Tony Simpson. So stage times for this stage. Fastest through so far, Ricky Crone, car 132. Sort of expect that, really. It might change when this man's been through, though. This is Rory McCann and the Hillman Avenger. Anyone who was out on Rally Ceredigion last weekend will know just how quick Rory can pedal a car. It was a Civic last weekend. Back over from the Isle of Man to compete in the Hillman Avenger this weekend. Not quite as agile as an Escort, but when you've got Rory McCann driving, it won't need to be. It doesn't matter what he drives, he will be driving it 110% regardless. Always fantastic to see on the stages. So let's have a look then. So Ricky Crone set a 7:16 through this stage, notably quicker than anybody else so far. Sam Mason a 7:34, Steve Chaplin a 7:38, Tony Thompson a 7:39, Jeff Phelps with a 7:41, and then Alex Cannon and Dylan Fowler Bishop with a 7:44. Phil Squires 7:45, Andrew Stokes with a 7:46, and then Dave Dobson with a 7:47, rounding out the top 10 quickest through this stage so far. Obviously, as more cars come through, those stage times will continue to tumble. Just a quick look at the stage times from this morning, just to give us a leveler, really. So Ricky Crone set a 7:31 this morning. And then came back this afternoon and set a 7:16. So you can see 15 seconds quicker. Second time round, as we'll look at the special stage Seacon UK Rally Show sponsor. It did sound like it. I must admit I couldn't see from here, if I'm honest with you, but it could well have been that there was a puncture on that car. It seems to be going along okay, but the noise was like a rub, didn't it? It sounded like it was rubbing. I don't know whether I can, actually. I might have missed it on the stream. If the stream comes back to us on... We have a Neil Roskell watching. He's joined us eventually, must have just got up. The rest of the family were watching Bright and Breezy this morning, but Neil was still in bed, having 40 winks after all his efforts trying to keep up with Mr. Callum Black at the weekend. Fantastic championship battle in the Pro Tyre Championship. Always a pleasure to have Neil along. Thank you for joining us, Neil. Yeah, so we're talking there's a 15-second difference between the first run through the stage and the second run through the stage for our fastest crew through so far, Ricky Crone, Ifan Divine. It looks like we're having these extended gaps between the cars, like we sort of mentioned before. Hopefully this will mean that the event will all of a sudden come back on track and we won't have lost too much time. Stunning Mark 1 of Ernie and Karen Graham. Flexifly sponsored Mark 1 Escort. As stunning as you can get a Mark 1 looking these days. Fantastic to see that car out on the stages. Beautiful looking car. Nice little burble on the overrun as well, lovely. A little look back on the YouTube link. So if anyone's watching live on YouTube, you can't do it on the. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So we can't do it on Facebook, but anyone watching on YouTube, you can have a flick back on the live stream. It allows you to rewind the live feed on YouTube. So anyone watching on YouTube, you can rewind and fast forward the live feed. And if you do that, you'll be able to see that the Seacon UK Ford Fiesta of Tony Simpson was suffering from a left-hand rear puncture. not too far to go in the stage, so hopefully it won't hamper them too much. So this will be a gap for Liam Griffiths now. We mentioned Liam before. Liam and Callum both missing from our results now after drive shaft issues forced both of the... in fact, that is Tony going out the stage up the top there, so leaving the stage hasn't lost too much time. That's good. So let's see, if there's no Liam Griffiths, then it should be Mr. Dave Brick. Gareth, while we have this little break in cars, can I bring you over for a very quick chat? I want to ask you a couple of questions, actually.
Ask whatever you like.
Gareth Edwards, everybody. Former rallier.
Yes.
Still rallying, but not currently.
No, not a lot.
You will be back out at some point, sure.
Yeah, at some point. I was planning on doing this, but money, time, business, family, everything comes first, doesn't it? So
It certainly does, yeah. I'm only here because I get paid to come here. If I had to pay to be here, I wouldn't be able to get here either.
there we go.
So no, it's an expensive sport. We know that. I was going to ask you a question about Dave Brick. Do you know Dave? You've competed against him for a long time. One of the stories I have of Dave, we did. I think it was either the Carlisle stages or the Pirelli rally. I think it must have been the Carlisle stages. It was probably about 8 years ago now, 10 years ago, and we got to the finish line. And we did the ceremonial finish and the spraying of the champagne. And when Dave got out of the car, he was wearing 10-pin bowling shoes. And he was telling us the reason he wore these 10-pin bowling shoes was because he felt the pedals better through 10-pin bowling shoes than any other shoe. But since I mentioned that on the live stream this morning, I was also told he had events in wellies as well. Have you ever tried driving in anything other than sort of racing shoes?
Hobnail boots, that is the favourite, because
Okay.
you have no feel, so you generally tend to go faster.
Just put your foot down and hope for the best. Okay, fair enough. It's either on or off.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Well, a bit like Dave, really, because he is literally on or off, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he is, yeah. I feel like today he's been a little bit more maybe relaxed about things. He didn't seem quite as leery this morning when he came into view. Might be a whole different story when we see him again this afternoon, but this morning, yeah, he was driving very sensibly this morning.
That's got to be a first, Dave driving sensibly, really.
It doesn't happen very often, for sure, yeah. So when you were competing in the Nova back in the day, who was your biggest rival in terms of your competition? Who did you sort of aim to beat when you were out there competing?
Well, Dave he's always been right up there. People like Neil Weaver. He's a bit of a newbie, but a bit of an idiot, really. But I can't say that out loud. No, he's a great guy.
I cannot condone any of these comments, by the way, just in case he comes hunting me down.
Absolutely. No. Look, Neil's always got a target on his back. He's pretty uncatchable, really. But he's got the target on the back. And when you're competing against these Mark II Escorts as well, when you're in an Nova and something front wheel drive, 2 litre, a bit different, you want to try and compete against the big boys.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Neil was always quick. 1400 Corsa, I remember, was always like one of the first cars you saw when back in watching the 1400 Championship. So yeah, Neil was always one of the, like you say, the one with the target on his back. Everyone was trying to beat Neil. But yeah, any car that you wish you'd had over the years? Is there something you'd love to have had, or are you happy with your Nova?
I've always had Novas. Literally, Nova's first car I drove when I was 17. And I've rallied a Nova pretty much ever since. So I've toyed with the idea of other things, Subarus and that sort of stuff, but money again. And to be honest, I like being a bit different, having the 2 litre motor in the Nova as well. Something a bit different. It's quite a handful, really.
Yeah, you can move away from the Nova into something like the Subaru, but will you have the same amount of fun in the Subaru? It'll cost you more money to run it, and you probably end up wanting to get back in the Nova at some point, I would have thought. I know a few people have done that in the past with moving into sort of bigger, better cars and then sort of seeing it from a different angle and actually thinking, you know what, it's more fun knocking it back down to be more competitive in a smaller car.
Absolutely, and you look at the sort of classic car, like Novas are becoming classic cars now. They're going up in value, and GTEs and that sort of stuff. And it's nice to keep the old cars going, really. That's it.
Thank you very much for your quick chat there. I appreciate your time. I don't want to hold you too long to it. I just thought we'd grab you very quickly as you were stood next to us with a little pause in proceedings. I'm trying to listen out to see if there's any more cars coming. I don't know whether it's whether there's anything in stage at the minute. But I think what we will do is we will cut the stream now, because I don't know if there's going to be anything coming within the next half hour even. So let's say goodbye for now. Please, everybody who's still watching, click on the notification button on the stream. You will be able to get notified then as soon as we go live again. We will be back live again, I